everyone. My name is Wunmi and you're welcome to Bloom with Wunmi. I'm having an exciting conversation with exceptional leading women, leaders in the corporate world, in business, and also in their communities. And today, I'm so excited to have Ada Adeleke-Kelani. She is the manager of audits from the Office of the Auditor General of Alberta. Ada, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on your show, Wunmi. Glad to be here.
Yeah, please, can we know you? What's about Ada? How is it going up? And yeah, who is Ada?
Ada, who is Ada? I ask myself that question sometimes. But I am the only daughter of my parents, who are now both of blessed memory. And I have been blessed to live in a man's world. So I have two brothers. Now I have two sons and one husband. For that, I am grateful. But I was born, bred, and buttered in Nigeria, and then toasted in Canada. And when I say toasted in Canada, it just took my life to a new level, having moved to Canada.
You said you grew up or you live in a man's world. How's that been, being the only girl and now being the only princess or queen, as I would call it, in your house? How has that your life been? Oh, yeah, how can you just talk about that?
Well, one thing that has been really important is knowing who I am and holding my own. So definitely not being fazed by others. And that's one thing that my mother really instilled in me from a really, really young age. These days they call it affirmations and things like that. My mother definitely grounded me and made me know who I was and am and whose I am. And so that has been like a guiding light for me, wherever I find myself, knowing who I am and holding my own, knowing that I'm unique and here for a purpose.
Well, thank you very much. I love the fact that talking about how knowing who you are has been like hot for you. What can you say about leaders knowing themselves? I don't want to call the name, how can it help leaders or women become better and really, really living the life of purpose and living the life they should live? Yes.
Well, as you know, I'm a Christian, and one scripture in the Bible that came to mind as you asked that question is, when two blind people lead each other, they end up in a ditch. So as a human being, male, female, leader or not, because I believe that everybody is a leader, and we can talk about that later, but whoever you are, if you don't know who you are and why you exist, you really can't help anyone else. So I think that's something that's noteworthy. It always starts from inside out. A lot of times people project things that are happening inside them. If you dig in, if someone comes across as cheerful, it's from inside. I know there are people who like to fake it until they make it, but it's from inside too. Yeah, it's a lack of confidence from inside that's coming out as the fake it till you make it.
Thank you very much. That is true. Everyone, not only leaders, you need to know who you are. You need to be self-aware. Self-awareness is for me, it's the bedrock, it's the foundation of anything you're going to do, anything you're going to achieve. You need to start from, who am I? What do I have to offer the world? Why am I here? And that's about your purpose, understanding that, so that you can really make the difference. I'm unique. My own voice is different. My handprint is different, and the print I'm going to leave, the legacies I'm going to leave behind, it's going to be unique to me. And just the earlier you will own that, the earlier we realize that, we'll begin to work with that intentionally. I think that's going to make a lot of difference in our lives. Yeah, so you've worked in Nigeria, Canada, and all in leading roles. So how can you say how is that? What's the difference? And what's the similarity? And how has that really helped you to grow to be who you are today? So many questions together.
Okay, so let's start off with the similarities and the differences. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The similarity is that people are people are people are people. It doesn't matter where you go. People are just people. The major difference, besides the weather, of course, is the diversity at play. So when I think about my leadership roles in Nigeria, whilst I was working with people from diverse countries, I was also working with diversity within the country. That was more prominent, I'd say. Whilst working in Canada in leadership roles, including global roles, where I've had team members in other continents, it just broadens that diversity conversation. So it's a difference with a difference. And the other thing too is understanding the language. And when I say language, it's not about understanding English in itself, but understanding what a word could mean to someone. Let me give you an example of something that happened to me within my first few months of working in Canada. I was having a conversation with one of my leaders, and he said to me, I would send an email to the client. And so I said, okay. I thanked him and I left. A few days later, he said, so Ada, have you sent the email? Sent what email? When we had the conversation, you said I would send the email to the client. How was I to know? And this is me thinking my inside voice now. How was I to know that that was suggestive speaking? In Nigeria, if my leader or my manager said to me, I would send an email to the client, it means that he's going to send the email to the client.
That's true.
So you see what I mean about people are people are people, but understanding the language is what makes the difference or makes it easier or more difficult, one way or the other.
Wow. Wow, that is also, imagine that is someone that is, English is your first language. And I could also say that English is almost your own first language too. So
it's not almost, it is, English is actually my first language, because once you're from Nigeria and you're schooled in Nigeria, oh, now you bring up another story, if I may. In another company, I went to have coffee with someone. And let's not even go into the coffee conversation, because can you imagine in Nigeria saying to someone, let's go have coffee? Person would be like, why? But I was going to have coffee with this colleague of mine, and he said to me, oh, wow, you speak really good English. Where did you learn it? Did you learn it here in Canada? And so it just dawned on me that being the leader that I am, it wasn't a time to get upset. And we may get into it in a bit, but it was a time for me to control my emotions and say, this looks like an opportunity for a lesson in history. So that's another attribute of leaders, recognizing teachable moments. And so I asked the individual, have you heard of the Commonwealth? And he said, yeah. I said, and you know Canada is part of the Commonwealth? Of course. I said, Nigeria is also part of the Commonwealth. I said, so I was schooled in English. I was schooled in English. So I didn't need to come to Canada to learn how to speak English.
I also speak English. I think that is something that a lot of people don't know. And I've heard that compliment before where somebody says, "Oh, you speak very good English." I'm like, as in, I've been speaking English since almost like when I was born. And so I didn't come to Canada to learn English or somewhere else. So I get that a lot. Or when they hear my kids speaking, so, oh, wow, she speaks good English. Like, that's what they speak. So it's not like they learned it in school or they speak that. And it's good for us to be able to teach people and without getting emotional about it or getting upset. Because sometimes this person is actually very sincerely wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes just or sincerely ignorant, right? You just have to be magnanimous enough to say, no, this is not how it is, and just teach them, right? So those are people that speak English as a first language, but you've also managed cross-cultural teams in different countries. And I know sometimes manage places where it's not their first language, as in they're not part of the Commonwealth. So how has it been like managing different things at the same time with different dynamics and different language barriers? How has that been for you? And how was that for you?
Oh, that has been, if I think back to that part of my career, it was the best time until now. Because now I'm in a totally different place and enjoying, where I am in life now. But at that time, it was, I'd say, the best thing that had happened to me, because it gave me an opportunity of becoming culturally intelligent myself. So it wasn't about just leading people, it was about leading myself. And one of the things that came through for me is that as a leader, it's beyond what's in your head. It's a heart matter. It has to do with your heart. And if I may, I'd like to use the word heart as a mnemonic to just share some of the different dimensions of things I learned as a leader of cross-generational, cross-culture, and cross-locational, really, teams. So the first thing that I learned whilst having that global or regional, even regional opportunity, was that a leader has to help others. So H stands for helping others. A lot of times leaders are looking for, how can I shine and get my next promotion? What I learned is when you help your people, they will help you. They will help you. I remember a particular situation where I was seeking a new team leader for one of the teams in my broader team. And there was a particular person I wanted, or we felt, my manager and I felt, would be a good fit for the role. Other people had applied for the role, but this person was reluctant. Incidentally, a woman. And so I reached out to her and I said, I've seen all the other people who have applied. I don't see your name there. And then she opened up to me and said, well, the reason why is, I don't know if I'll be a good leader. I said, share with me what your concerns are. And she said, first of all, I don't know if I'll be able to fight for my team. I don't know if I'll be able to represent them. So there was that tug in her heart. For me, that was the first signal that she would be a good leader. So I said to her, everybody becomes a leader one way or the other. And I guarantee you that if you apply and are the successful candidates, I'll have your back. I'll mentor you, I'll coach you, and you can count on me being your safety net. And that gave her the courage to sign up for the role, and she did a great job. That experience of helping others actually inspired one of the quotes in my first book, which is, good leaders groom others. Or really they groom, the people in their teams. But great leaders groom others and create room for them to bloom. So really, there's no value, in my opinion, in saying, oh, I'm a leader and I'm grooming people. If you don't ever give them the opportunity to bloom, what have you done? The second thing that I learned and continue to learn, of course, as a leader of intercultural teams is emotional intelligence. You have to be fully aware. You talked about self-awareness earlier. You need to be fully aware of your emotions and be able to control them so they don't control you. So EQ needs to be high. Some people become leaders because of their IQ. Okay. But if you really want to be successful as a leader, whether or not your team is cross-cultural, you need to make sure that your EQ is higher. The third thing that I learned through intercultural and just general life experience is authenticity. So that's the A in heart. Well, my mnemonic, of course. You need to be real. And when you show up as a real person, you inadvertently give your team members the permission to be themselves. Earlier, I had talked about the fake it until you make it. If you're a leader who's faking it, guess what? The people around you are also faking it. And so you may never know how they're really, really doing. You may never know if someone has made a mistake and is trying to cover it up because you're trying to look picture perfect. Another story popped in my head concerning this. Several years ago, I was given the opportunity to lead a global team. And when I joined the team, my manager's manager said to me, Ada, you're leading a team of people who have been with this organization for decades. So you need to be able to hold your own. What I didn't tell her at that time is my mother already told me this years ago. Hold your own. So as I met these people who, for sake of another word or a better word, are tenured, it was obvious that I've been here for X number of years, so I know my stuff. So when I met each of them, I said, guess what? I'm the new person. Guess what? You know more than I do. Then I said to them, individually, of course, because you do these things one-on-one. I said to them, I really don't need you telling me when I've made a mistake. I need your help so that I avoid the mistakes, because you have the experience in this space already. And so that gave them room to mentor me. There was reverse mentoring taking place. And
Wow.
here again, and here again, we were helping each other. I was helping them, projecting them as the experts. And they will be like, yes, I'm the expert, and we'll move things up. In fact, for one person in particular, I remember a project we were trying to start off putting a new system, change the process. And apparently, I don't know how long they had been trying to do this, but this particular individual kept stopping it. And so we're supposed to have another meeting, a project meeting, when I became, a few months after I had become the leader. And someone else from a different department. So this is not just cross-culture, it's also cross-functional teams. The gentleman reached out to me and said, this person on your team, I really don't want her at this meeting because she's just not going to let us progress. So I said, can you please leave her to me? I'll manage this. So I had a conversation with the individual. I'll tell you about the conversation after I tell you what happened. So we go into this meeting. The meeting went on fabulously. The gentleman calls me later and says, who did you bring to that meeting? I didn't recognize her. She was all on side and she was giving us suggestions on how we could change the process that she has forever said must not change. What did you do? So I said, well, I had a chat with her. So let me tell you about my chat with her. I said, remember, you have been in this role for a long time. You know what will work, you know what will not work. Things may need to change. I wonder, what would your legacy be? And that switched it.
Wow.
That switched it. So she was, all of a sudden, she became the de facto project owner. She owned it. Which brings me to the R in heart, respect. It's important to respect your team members as individuals. And that includes getting to know them better. We talked about intercultural teams. When you respect people, you recognize that our differences are not good or bad. They are just differences.
Wow.
The other thing that happens when you respect others is you create room for them. I like to say, and I think this is in one of my books, but I like to say that diversity is by default. Inclusion is by design. Think about it. You and I have no control over the diversity in the world. It just is. It just is. But we can choose who to include in our circles. So that respect is important. Another dimension of respect, which I learned from NH, I'm going to call him NH because people who have worked with him and worked in the organization where he led for several years, they would recognize that initial. When I was getting into my first leadership position, at a meeting for managers, NH put up a slide. And that slide said, the rights of a child. So it had the list of what the rights of a child are. Rights to be loved, the rights to have clothing, to be educated, to be disciplined. As parents, we know what the rights of a child are. Then he asked, what are the rights of an employee? What are the rights of a team member? And everybody was like, to get their salary, to get, So he said, they are no different from the rights of a child.
Wow.
And that has stuck with me for decades later. There's no way I can ever tell my leadership story without energy being a piece of it. And so, respect. I'm not saying become romantically involved with your team members, definitely not. But if you truly love your people as you should, as the leader, you would help them. Remember, we talked about help?
Mm-hmm.
You would give them timely feedback. And in giving timely feedback, you will be kind and candid, not candid. You won't be sweet-talking people. You will be candid. You'll be honest to them. You don't want your staff member to make the same mistake the rest of their career. So you tell them on time. That's evidence of respect. I always say to people, if you say you can't give feedback, you are a disrespectful person. So those are the first four. And of course, to be a great leader, you need to be transparent. That's the T in heart. You need to be transparent. You need to be honest. You need to live with integrity. I say that to be a great leader, you need to be a people person, but you don't need to be a people pleaser.
Wow. Oh, wow, that's true. Mm.
And in transparency, you hold back only what you can't share. So let me give you an example. A few years ago, well, more than a few years ago, our company was going through a reorganization. And as we know, people were on edge. So people were like, so what do I do? What don't I do? And so I said to them, this is going to be a roller coaster. We can do one of two things. You can join me in the roller coaster ride, or we can wait till everything settles and then we all find out what the outcome is. My team members at that time said they'd like to be part of the roller coaster. I said, okay. The second ask of you is, if you're going to be with me on this roller coaster, please recognize that at every point in time, I will know more than I can share with you. So I'm not being dishonest, but I'm just not telling you everything because I don't have the permission to tell you everything. So if another manager or leader goes to leak out confidential information, and then you say, oh, but Ada didn't tell us, you'll remember that Ada said she knows more than she can tell you. So it's important as a leader, have a desire to help your team members and others, really, because they don't have to be in your team to support your team, you know, when you have cross-functional teams. EQ, authenticity, respect, and transparency.
Wow, that is a curriculum on its own. As a leadership curriculum, wow, thank you very much for sharing that. Wow, I should have been taking notes and, writing down. But that is
Well, you have a recording, so you can always go back
yes,
and write.
we have recording. I hope I hope everyone is just writing now. She's just been dripping wisdom. I was like, wow, wow. Thank you very much for sharing that. And it's your heart, and we can see that, right? It's something that comes from within. It's not something that you're faking to make it. It's being authentic. It's something that you've realized, you know who you are, so you know what you can give. It comes from within. You can't fake it. Yeah. And you were talking, and I could hear a lot of you really going out of your way to help people, which is at one page. And you love to mentor people apart from your work. I know you volunteer to mentor for coming to Canada. You volunteer in different ways. I would like to know, what is it that motivates you to go the extra mile, to give your time and resources to help other people thrive?
Okay, it just occurred to me that you've touched on something, and I'm going to try not to cry, okay? But once again, if I cry, I cry, and I'm not going to apologize. I believe it's the way I was brought up, yeah? Growing up, it was evident that my parents desired to help other people so that their lives could be better. And I'm sure you can see I'm trying. I remember one time when my mom came back from work, and she said to me that I think she was scolding me about something. And she said that when she gets to the office and she's talking, they say, you're talking about your children. How many children do you have? Do you have 20? Do you have? And she was like, no, I have 3. And I thought it was hilarious because all through our growing up years, we're definitely more than 3 in that home. And one time my mother said to me that actually her work colleagues started calling her Shepherd, because our home was filled with other people that my parents felt they could support. And so it's interesting, as I reflect on your question, how much our upbringing wires us for how we show up in life. Yeah? So the reason why I volunteer is because I believe that we all have something to give. And I may not be able to help the whole world, but if I help one person, that's enough.
Thank you very much. You may not be able to help the whole world, but if you help one person, that is enough. That is enough. And that's true. There's this question I've asked a lot of, I'm sorry I made you cry.
No need to apologize. No need to apologize. My tears, they show up whenever they want to, so no need to apologize. They don't need an invitation.
Yeah. So I know you have kids, and I know you've been working, I guess you're working when you were little, because now they're older. So yes. How was it like juggling career with little kids, and also being a wife, being a mom, being a career woman, and wanting to succeed in everything you're doing? So how was that, and how are you able to put everything together? Now you're in another stage, they're older. Of course, you're still a mom, you're still a wife, but of course, the demand on your time is different. So when you were younger, how was it, and how is it now, juggling everything you do plus the volunteering you're doing?
First and top on the list is my husband. I have an amazing, amazing, amazing husband. I have an amazing husband. And his support is everything. It's everything. In my second book, I talk quite a bit about the importance of supporting your spouse. And that is one of the things that has happened between my husband and I. All through my career, from after we got married, he's been extremely, extremely supportive. I remember when we moved to Canada, our children were really little, and I had to do my CA, now CPA designation from the beginning. And our children were little. And my husband was like, go do it. I got your back. Even when I had global roles that involved a lot of travel and our children were younger, I didn't lose sleep. I didn't need to wonder, oh, what are the children going to eat? I knew my husband will not starve his children. So my husband, God alone can bless him. And so it's having that conversation on what the dreams are and partnering to make them come true. So supporting my husband in the pursuit of his dreams and him supporting me in the pursuit of my dreams. So that's what it was when they were much younger. Now, it's wonderful to be able to sit down and say, please bring me my food. It's a different season. But also recognizing that I am not raising children, I am raising adults. Because after childhood, they'll be adults for the rest of their lives. So taking the time to be there for them. That's the current season versus go and pick up your toys or, go to bed, it's past your bedtime. It's a different season, but it's been fun each way.
Wow, thank you very much. So now, as of course, this is like it's parenting, but then leadership. As parents, we're also leaders. So in this new season of your life and the kids, how is the leadership or parenting a bit different? How are you showing up as a leader and as a mentor to them? Like I said, or like when we're younger, where it's like more like, but pick up your toys, go to bed, clear your room. It's a different relationship now. So, and how is that like?
Now there is a greater responsibility to reason with my children. I can't afford to tell them how to think. I can only show them how to think. I can only coach them on how to think. They're coming into their own and having to learn to make their own decisions. There's some calculated risks I need to let them take and learn from experience. I don't even have the capacity to be a helicopter parent. And one thing that leaders do, or should do, is develop other leaders, even if they're being homegrown.
I love that. Leaders develop other leaders, even if they are homegrown. So we don't only develop leaders outside or in the community or in our workplace. We also develop our leaders from home. So that is beautiful. Thank you very much. So what's the most challenging thing you faced as a leader?
Ooh. A couple years ago, I asked a HR person, what's it about your job? And the response from the HR person was, or did I read this? No, I think it was something I read. And the response, from the HR person was, I really, really love my job. It's just the people. So the most challenging part of leadership is dealing with people, which is why you need to love them. You need to be a people person, not a people pleaser. And one of the more difficult things I have done in some of my leadership roles is letting people go when people need to exit the organization. But the important thing, if and when you need to let people go, is that you did all you could to equip them for a successful future. Just like parenting. See what I mean about the rights of a child and the rights of an employee? We send our children to school. You want them to take the best courses and get the best grades so that they're equipped for life. Same thing with your employees. If you take the time to help them, give them room to bloom, even if or when you need to let them go, either out of your team or out of the organization, you know that they are on ground footing. They are grounded, sure footing for that next stage of their lives.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. In case you don't know, Ada is also a leadership coach. I'm sure you'd have seen it now by the quality of what she's been sharing with us since. So your final words, as a leadership coach who wants to share your wisdom, what would you say to an aspiring leader, a younger woman out there that really wants to be a leader, wants to grow herself and lead herself and also lead others?
The first thing I'd say is that everybody can and is a leader, because leadership is not a title, it's not a position, it's a posture. It is how you show up. The second thing is you cannot be a good leader if you don't first lead yourself. And the third is learn from others, because you will not live long enough to make all the mistakes other people have made. They say a normal person learns from their mistakes, but a wise person learns from other people's mistakes. Leaders should learn to learn and also learn from other people's mistakes. And even if you make a mistake, one of the books that's changed my life, one of the books that changed my life is Failing Forward by John Maxwell. Another book, sorry, let me finish the thoughts on that. One of the books that changed my life is Failing Forward by John Maxwell. Yeah, you could fail, but you don't need to stay on the ground. Get up and keep moving. Finally, as a leader, an individual, wherever you are, remember that you're born an original. Don't die a copy. And that's the title of a book by John Mason, which also freed me to be me.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Leadership is a posture. It is not a position. It's not something that you want to go into. It's a posture. It comes. Wow, I just really, really love that. How you said leadership is a posture. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to us, right now, leadership is a posture. You don't have to wait to be promoted to be a team leader, to be a manager, or to have a position or a title to your name before you begin to show up and lead others and lead yourself, first of all. Thank you very much. You were born an original, don't die, because you're unique. as you are, and you have something to offer the world, you have something to show the world. And that's why we are giving you this today. And I hope you've learned so much from us and from our guest today, Ada Adeleke-Kelani. Thank you very much. I'm so excited to have you here, and I've been so blessed listening to you, and I've learned so much. And I know that our viewers also, I'm sure they've learned so much from you. So this is us today. Please join us for the next episode of Bloom with Wunmi, where I'll be having another exceptional leader, female leader. So take care and God bless. Bye.
Thank you very much for having me on your show. God bless you too.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.